Good afternoon, everyone. This is South African Bar Association presentation. As you are aware, the South African Bar Association is a weekly event at no cost to the participants and viewers to improve the skill set of our legal profession. This initiative is aimed at making a fundamental contribution to developing the skill set of all and any persons who represents the South African public in our courts. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our eminent speaker today. Our speaker today is Advocate Ronelle Ferguson. Advocate Ferguson shall be addressing us on a topic titled Virtual Chambers, a Practical Alternative in an Evolving Technological Landscape. We have Advocate Mohammed Patel to conduct Advocate Ferguson's welcome and introduction. A few housekeeping matters. These sessions are recorded, and we appeal to participants to ensure that your microphone is muted and that your video camera is switched off. Accordingly, during the address, all participants shall automatically be muted. If a participant has a question, simply raise your hand. Alternatively, pose such question using the chat function on the Microsoft Teams platform. Further, during the question and answer session, please restrict questions to the speaker relative to the topic under discussion, and only pose such question when called upon. Without any further ado, I now hand it over to Advocate Patel. Over to you, Advocate Patel.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you for that. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules and being here today. I know it's month end. Everyone is rather busy. Without further ado, I'd like to thank Advocate Ferguson on behalf of the South African Bar Association for fitting us into her very busy schedule. And I think we are all privileged today to have Advocate Ferguson with us. And by way of introduction, Advocate Ferguson started her career in law as an attorney in 1989 and went on to become the first female partner of Stegman's Attorneys, a then 100-year-old law firm. She joined the Pretoria Bar in 1999, where she also found a platform for her passion in training and social responsibility. She attended the advocacy training for trainers, having lectured candidate attorneys for almost 9 years before that, and went on to establish and develop a successful practice in litigation over the last 22 years. In those 22 years at the Pretoria Bar, she had actively participated in the fraternity and has also become a board member of the then Groenkloof Chambers at the Pretoria Bar. It was during the hard lockdown in April 2020, whilst being forced to continue practicing from her home during that period, that Advocate Ferguson realized that the plight of and opportunities for so many of her colleagues during that period, then the concept of virtual chambers was born. Without further ado, I now hand over to Advocate Ferguson to give us a webinar on the practical alternative in an evolving technological landscape. Advocate Ferguson, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. It's a privilege for me, having been invited by the SA Bar Association. I'm extremely excited to share the topic with you. And might I, as a point of introduction, say that this experience that we've all come through in the last 18 months, I can't imagine the colleagues out there and even our friends and our judiciary, how quickly we adapted to this new normal. How it came about was when we suddenly had to go into hard lockdown last year. At Groenkloof Chambers, I think it was less than a week that we had to pack up and get out of there and make sure that we brought everything we needed and thought we needed and hoped that we have everything we needed and relocate, most of us probably, to our homes. Our trials proceeded, I think the new term started in April. And on the first day of the new term, I was forced into my first virtual trial on behalf of an attorney in Cape Town. It was my first exposure to conducting a trial virtually, and it was an overwhelming experience. It was intimidating, it was new, it was unfamiliar territory, and the second trial was a little bit easier. And I think, as with all of us, we've become a lot more accustomed to operating on a virtual platform. What became apparent during that time to me was the astounding impact from a growing point of view for our young colleagues and from a financial point of view. How on earth would a young advocate have the opportunities that we've had around the corridors of court, where our colleagues introduce us to their attorneys, where we're at chambers, where our senior colleagues pull us in on cases, where we assist our younger colleagues. What's going to happen to them? And one morning, a very early morning, whilst I was preparing for this virtual trial, incidentally, I consulted virtually as well, the concept of a virtual chambers came about. I still belonged to the Pretoria Bar. I was still at my chambers in Groenkloof, and in fact, I still go there today and have coffee with them and see how they're doing. Of course, they refer to me as, "Oh, Chips, here's the avatar." But I still have close contact with them. And the more the idea developed, the more I realized the opportunities and the practical alternative that was available in our profession. Our profession is characterized by its traditions, century-old traditions. Our profession is characterized by fraternity amongst us, whether in our groups, in our different bars, in our different advocates associations. Our fraternity, the advocates fraternity, is identified by its history, its ethics, its decorum, its drive to learn and to give learning, to share that intellectual capital. Our profession is identified by its honor and its very high ethical standards. A lot has changed in that field as far as governance is concerned, and the LPC was strange to a lot of us when it came in, and there's a lot of development. I see a lot of the bars working with the LPC, and again, that's typical the advocate's profession. And in that vein, looking out for opportunities, and now having those opportunities backed by an endless, evolving and growing technological landscape, has extended our reach as advocates, and I say fraternity, and thereby I include, of course, the sisterhood, but we always called it the fraternity. It's extended our reach. It's extended our reach to learn. It's extended our reach to support our colleagues and look out for them. It's extended our reach to promote everything that advocacy is about. It's created an opportunity for us to take advocacy forward without losing anywhere or anything from where we come. Now, the virtual chambers concept or any other technological chambers, that concept had the benefit of being forced to develop. I thought last night, what do all chambers, all advocates chambers, all bar associations, and not just in South Africa, but probably globally, have in common? There's one thing they all have in common, and that is the colleagues around you. There are always colleagues that need help. Always. Somebody's in trouble because they're ill. Somebody's in trouble financially. Somebody's in trouble because and I say trouble, because they don't know the answer to a particular legal question. Those are the problems, or the problems that we experienced during the lockdown, and when the lockdown forced us into this technological landscape. I identified those problems. And Ahmed, if I may ask you for our second slide, or the first one, of course, was if you could share that first slide of the heading of our chat, if that's okay, Ahmed. Thank you, Ahmed. I've got that. If we could go to the second slide. So the challenges and the common challenges of all of us, for all of us, is retaining the traditional culture of advocacy in this new landscape, our traditions, our integrity, our camaraderie, and everything that the advocate profession stands for. How do we retain that in these unprecedented times? What do we do with the financial duress of our colleagues? We know that as a result of that, probably flowing from that, we've got remote scattered practices and almost a diluted or partially diluted absence of that group participation, because either people can't afford to be there anymore, people don't want to be at their chambers anymore, people want to practice but have realized the comfort and the convenience of practicing remotely. What you'll see just now is knock knock. We have all, not once but many times, walked down the corridor, knocked on the door, and said to a colleague, I'm in trouble here. You got a minute for me? I don't think everybody has ever walked into a colleague's rooms without being helped, or at least having your nose pointed in the right direction. That's how we do it. That's how I got to know my colleagues the last 22 years. What about that? If so many people work remotely, there are lots of smaller groups of junior counsel that have taken up offices. There's 3 or 4 over here, and then there's maybe 2 over there. They're scattered. So what happens to that accessibility, to the wealth of knowledge that we grew up with? What about the common rooms? Morning coffee, where those pearls of wisdom You either catch them or sometimes you share some of them. What about that? And I always tried never to miss it. Morning coffee, because some days you talk sport and nonsense, and other days there's a debate about a matter that somebody's dealing with. In fact, you hear about stuff that you didn't know a thing about. Always there's learning, always learning there. What about that? What happened to, what's going to happen to that? Because it's never going to go back to how it was. That much we know. That much we know. What about staying connected in group format? And the common rooms and the knock-knock facilities, the training, all of that. How do we stay connected? What happens to our training and development? Have we evolved? Can we evolve more and quicker? But what about pupillage? Many of us have lectured pupillage. And you had your group in front of you and you could interact with them and you can see them and talk to them. What happened to their training during the hard lockdown? Where was their exposure to the dynamics in the corridors at court or in the insolvency interrogations or the arbitrations? That's a massive gap. And all of that, most of that, to a greater extent in some instances, and a lesser extent in others. The practical alternative in the evolving technological landscape, and Ahmed, if you will, is what do we do? Where's the solution? Well, the first solution, because the more you fight it, the less you're going to progress. So what do we need to do? We need to know that we have to accept that things have changed. The traditions of our profession, that'll never change. That's not going to change, and that's what we have to behold. But what has changed, and we have to accept that the way we practice has changed, where we practice has changed, and how we stay in contact, how we stay connected, that's changed. So the virtual chambers concept, and super important, LPC compliant, only referral practice. And I'm only referring to the advocates' chambers. Must be LPC compliant and only referral, a referral practice. It's an independent platform. We know it's innovative. We know it's forward thinking. There was a publication, one or two publications, calling it a global first. The research we did and the outreach abroad, where some, I personally connected with a QC in London, who said in the last 18 months he attended his chambers on 2 occasions, because he also became accustomed to working remotely, and then realizing, well, there are benefits to it, and then becoming comfortable with it. And then he said that he also started debating the justification of the expenses involved in the physical occupation of chambers. And this is not it's a bad thing to have physical chambers, please, that's not the point. The point is creating an alternative platform with this technological landscape that's available for those who don't occupy physical chambers. The technological landscape is also a platform where we can achieve a geographically unlimited, inclusive platform for all. So one of my senior colleagues earlier in the year, when we spoke about this concept, said the qualified advocates done their pupillage, but they remotely based. But this gives them access to the big city chambers, to the environment where all of those benefits, the answer to all of their challenges, may well be addressed. Ahmed, if I may ask for that next slide, please. Thank you. So this evolving technological landscape has made it possible for us to afford chambers for those who find it financially tough to do so, and have the traditional chambers experience, all those things that I've mentioned earlier, to have that virtually makes it possible for us to learn from our colleagues and share our intellectual capital as we've always done it. We can engage with each other socially. So the virtual chambers has got 2 conference rooms, and so far, I think it's six common rooms. And you can join any one of the conference rooms with a click. You can see who's in which common room. One's called the gavel, the EBA, the atrium, the jury, and you can say to your colleagues, in our meetings, we often say, our meetings with the developers, we would say afterwards, okay, ladies, we'll see you, let's see each other in the gavel. We shared, Zoom kept us busy for 3 weeks to do the integration for us, to have those 2 conference rooms and the 6 common rooms. It's a click away. You can provide skills and development learning platforms on a much larger scale. I stand corrected, but I mean, you can take in 1,000 people on a lecture, actually more. You can have webinars, but with the colleagues, you can create that feeling of camaraderie that we grew to be accustomed to in our advocates' chambers. You've got access to your colleagues and your attorneys on a geographically unlimited platform. Virtual chambers is not a bar. It's not an advocates association. We welcome all advocates that are LPC compliant and that work on a referral practice, irrespective to which bar association they belong. It's an add-on to every bar and every association. It's an opportunity, I would imagine, for upliftment. We've decided that the 0 to 1 year juniors, can join. They can have free access for their first year. So from the joining 0 to 1 years after the qualifying the bar exam, and once they join virtual chambers in that period, we're finalizing the nitty-gritty, but the 0 to 1s, which are the babies that we've always looked after and which I've had a particular passion for, get them back in there. Those are the young ones that are going to take the most strain in this time. And the 0 to 1 years, in fact, on the platform, the 0 to 5s have their own list of membership. So any of our attorneys that want to brief the young ones and support the younger upcoming advocates who haven't had the benefit of our decades of practicing. There's a special place for them, and we have an opportunity now to, on a global platform if it was necessary, but at least regionally and nationally, get those guys as close as we can to the real advocates experience, except it's globally. And the Knock Knock platform on the Virtual Chambers website, Ahmed, can I bother you for that next slide? So we say here, we've created an alternative. It's an add-on. It's not another bar, and it's not another advocates association. Those that are there, and I served my bar for a long time, and I served my chambers for a long time. Those are the people that make this profession what they are. Without their experience, without our bars and the expertise and the logistical management, nothing can happen. And the add-on, the bars are working with the LPC, they're collaborating. And Virtual Chambers is just another add-on to make our advocates profession more accessible for the young ones, for the guys that run into trouble, that are eager to learn, that want to stay connected. That was our vision. It creates inclusivity, broad-based connectivity, and of course it's affordable. Because although initially not so much, but I mean joining joining as a member is affordable. Ahmed, can I bother you? Thank you. So just to sum it up, LPC compliant referral practice, independent, innovative, forward-thinking, collaborative, resourceful, and committed. The commitment to our profession and its traditions, as I said in the beginning, that is the drive behind it. But this technological landscape that we suddenly found ourselves in, and the challenges that it presented, I think Virtual Chambers, and I know Virtual Chambers envisages a practical alternative to the scattered dynamic that we were forced into. Just before the Q&A section starts, there's a 45-second video, Ahmed, that I would love to share with you, and perhaps I'm in your hands. Mohammed, I think let's look at that quickly. It'll give our participants a better idea of Virtual Chambers as just one possibility of Virtual Chambers, but give them an idea on the 45-second clip.
Good. Ronelle, bear with me and tell me if you can hear the audio of the clip, right? I'm no IT expert, but as you said within your address, we are all. So just bear with me, and could you please hear the sound, right? Thank you.
Be part of tomorrow.
Yep, I can hear you. Thank you. Ahmed, we've lost the sound now.
Sorry. Did you lose the sound? Did you lose the sound?
Yeah. I heard it initially.
Okay, let me just try that again. Sorry, we both
up the volume.
Let's go.
Be part of tomorrow's advocates today. Virtual Chambers is available to all LPC compliant advocates receiving briefs from attorneys. Enjoy the full Advocates Chambers experience virtually all at a cost-effective rate. Find our collaborative skill set and invaluable intellectual capital all at your fingertips, while keeping the traditional collaboration and professional social interaction alive in our common rooms. Virtual Chambers welcomes all members, irrespective of whether you're part of any other legal association or group. Stay connected with colleagues online without the geographic limitations. Join the future of advocacy with Virtual Chambers, the real Chambers experience, virtually.
So that's that in a nutshell. I could probably keep you busy for hours, but I think I've done my time frame. Ahmed, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that informative address, Advocate Ferguson. The South African Bar Association is indeed indebted to you. I have now opened the platform. Sorry, I haven't. Just bear with me for 1 second. Okay. By way of continuation, I have now opened the platform for a brief question and answer session. By way of a reminder, should a participant have a question, simply raise your hand, alternatively pose such question using the chat function on the Microsoft Teams platform, where I shall pose the question directly to Advocate Ferguson. Advocate Ferguson, there's a first question from Advocate Bart Ford. Advocate Ford, you can simply unmute your microphone and/or enable your video.
Good afternoon, Ronelle. Thank you for a very informative and insightful presentation.
Hello, Bart.
Yes. So I think the first question I've got two questions. First question is, it would appear that the whole notion of pursuing the concept of virtual chambers had been predicated by the whole COVID-19 pandemic, which forced all of us really to work remotely and to optimize the whole virtual experience. Now that there's this drive for vaccination and our COVID numbers are in fact coming down, is there not a risk that in future the whole concept of virtual chambers might be at risk as people then start returning to work and finding ourselves back into the old ways in which things were done? That's the first question. The second question is, does the whole virtual chambers concept not deny one that opportunity to have that, as you've said, that knock on the door experience and have a chat, whether the morning tea or morning coffee that you have compensate for that sufficiently to the point where that human touch that we all have experienced and obviously rely upon at times, would that be sufficiently compensated by the common room that you've described? So those are the two questions I have.
Okay. Do I hold over on the questions, or can I answer them as we go along?
Ronelle, I think let's answer them individually.
Thank you. So, Bart, of course, things are going to normalize to some extent. And that's why I said it will never go back to where it was. I'm sure that I know for a fact that you can never, well, not where we are, replace the human interaction, ever. On this platform, or on the Virtual Chambers platform, it's a platform that provides connection not only for the colleagues who are out of the office, but also for colleagues that can't afford the office. Because the ripple effect and the financial implication for our colleagues after what they've gone through and after what they've experienced, virtual chambers or any similar virtual platform will develop its own culture. You can never take away the humanitarian or the human interaction, that handshake or the members' lunches together. Of course, there's going to be some form of normalization. But remember, virtual chambers is not a physical building with a long-term lease. Virtual chambers, and you join, and it saves the day because you've got colleagues. Let me just give you an example, a solid example, Bart. In the members area, when you click on knock knock, you type in the topic and you type in your question. And that gets sent out to all the members of virtual chambers at the same time. Each member can then either answer, join the conversation, or not. But your reach is so much wider. The benefits of the platform is of such a nature that it adds in this technological landscape. It adds, there are more opportunities because of what's available on a technological platform. So in the past, you would walk down the corridor and ask 1, 2, maybe 3 colleagues what they think. Virtual chambers, if you type in your knock knock, it goes to everybody. So your reach as far as help there is much wider. So you might think that you want to go back to chambers, but you might not want to leave the virtual platform. And I'm not talking about virtual chambers itself. I'm talking about the virtual chambers concept. And you can retain your virtual chambers membership or not. So it's not about a risk where you have to retain the numbers to pay the rent to the landlord. Virtual chambers will have its own traffic and the young ones will come in. I've had, interestingly enough, some senior colleagues asking about it, mentioning that they haven't been back to chambers and they're actually quite enjoying working remotely. So it's got its own dynamic. One can never predict, but it's not a risk. It's an opportunity, and it's an alternative. It's a practical alternative for advocates to remain engaged after this. Some may use it as a springboard. Others may use it as a permanent solution. It'll sort itself out as things develop, but it'll never replace bar associations or advocates associations. It'll never replace that. Instead of having, I would imagine, hundreds of advocates working remotely, and you only have to look, and we're starting to normalize already, but you only have to look at the virtual roll calls and the motion calls to see. Even virtual chambers has got the live stream. We load the live stream to the Constitutional Court and to the Supreme Court of Appeal. So as soon as they go live, our members have the 2 screens and they can keep an eye on what's happening in those 2 courts. I digress. But if you look in the background, it's interesting to see how many of our colleagues are practicing in what looks like remote chambers. So yes, it's going to evolve, and yes, it's going to change, but I don't believe it's a problem.
Thank you, Ronelle.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you, Council. There's a question from Acting Judge Romeo Ntambaleni. Acting Judge Romeo, you can simply unmute your mic and or your video. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, Ronelle.
Hello, good afternoon, Judge.
Yeah, look, I think I just want, mine is a comment. I want to agree with what you're saying. Even if we are going back to business as usual, when you were explaining to Bart, I think this platform is a very necessary platform because it rather invests in people than in buildings. So it's so important that people should not invest in buildings, but invest in people. Because I've never been a fan of big lease rentals where an advocate is paying 40,000 a month and he's working. He doesn't even have a life insurance policy on his life, but he's paying chambers for 40,000. So yeah. I believe for a fact, Ronelle, that this is the future. And as the country is moving slowly into the fourth industrial revolution, the virtual platform will not die. The natural chambers may die the natural death, but the virtual chambers will be the future because on a click of a button, you can be able to connect with an advocate who's practicing in Cape Town and ask a question and get an answer there. So for me, that is the future. But Ronelle, I just want to encourage you to say, when everything starts, it starts this way. It starts slowly, but this is the future. Rather than having a physical landlord that will be coming, knocking on your door, you have a flexible approach of a system that you can be able to manage anytime and disengage anytime without expecting someone's coming on your door. So I believe for even older and younger practitioners, it was so difficult to be a member of the bar, either Johannesburg or Pretoria, to say you want to practice from home. You had to write a 40-page document to explain why there's a need to practice from home. So this is flexibility. This is the future. And I believe that we are slowly but surely going to go into the platform. Lawyers are dinosaurs. They are very difficult to transform. But as soon as we are going into transformation mode, this is the future, Ronelle. And I just want to encourage you. This is the right thing, and continue doing it this way. You have my full support.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I might just add on to that by saying the short to medium term vision is to engage with our bars and to see in the character and the tradition of our profession to what extent virtual chambers or any other similar chambers can provide an alternative for colleagues that are struggling to pay the rent in the buildings. I must tell you, I'd be surprised if anybody in this platform will be able to say they don't know of anybody that's struggling with their fees and paying the rent.
I'll tell you now that it will be a lie, Ronelle. It will be a lie to say that, right straight in their face. They will just be telling a lie because we know the struggles of keeping physical chambers.
Yeah. No, and a big part of this, if you read our story on the Virtual Chambers platform, you'll see how much of that has got to do by my realization of our colleagues are going to need help. I've got 32 years in the game behind me, but the little ones and some older colleagues, we're going to have to come with a plan for them, and this is our plan. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Many chambers are already empty, and as we speak now, Ronald, because of that problem that we are talking about. So
let's see if we can get everybody back under one roof. Thank you so much. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, Judge. Advocate Ferguson, I have two questions. From your address, it is imperative that change is inevitable, but it's never easy, and it's not always expected. Now, Advocate Ferguson, you spend a lot of time discussing the benefits and advantages of virtual chambers, but there are also drawbacks. I'm going to focus your attention to two drawbacks. The first being decreased productivity. And I would say that I would submit that in a virtual chamber environment, one can easily be distracted by outside stimuli. My second question so pertaining to my first question, what is your comment pertaining to the decreased productivity drawback, which I just mentioned, and the drawbacks in general? My second question, a question of which I had posed to DJP Mlambo, and that is pertaining to our country's data providers. I must state that our country has indeed evolved tremendously pertaining to the stability of data connections. However, we still have a long way to go in that regard, and there is a lot of issues pertaining to the stability of internet connections. What is your comment in that regard, and how will that prejudice the virtual chambers?
Thank you, Ahmed. I can tell you that I had all intentions after the lockdown after the first lifting of the first hard lockdown, to go to, of course, back to Groenkloof Chambers. And the more the development between me and my co-founders came about, and that was happening, but my practice was running, and I realized, and I'm going to confess, and I know that there are a few members from Groenkloof Chambers, and don't be cross with me when I come for coffee again, but I realized how much time I wasted sitting around and talking nonsense. and now, and often when I speak with my colleagues or other professionals, those who have also started working remotely, you have to discipline yourself, otherwise you'll work yourself to death. So as far as productivity is concerned, the remote practitioners must discipline themselves. Your computer is too close, your files, your chambers are too close, and you can spend up overworking, because normally, and I know that for a fact, one would finish your day and go and hang out with the colleagues and maybe have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, and you could have been long gone by then. So if you work in a remote space, you just carry on working. I can assure you from my personal experience that decreased productivity, it's in fact the risk of increased productivity because the distractions are so much less. Provided, of course, you're not surfing the internet and checking up on Instagram and stuff like that. But if you sit down to work, then, and the nice thing is the chambers are up there on your screen or your other screen, and you can see when the SCA starts. Your emails tell you if a knock comes in. So no, I'm not concerned about that. As far as internet stability is concerned, the risk or challenges in respect of internet stability in our country is no different to any other platform than it is for virtual chambers. What we do know, and I'm still learning the big words, but the data management the server is a very, very big server. So unless we have a Black Friday experience of members joining up, it's a very, very big platform. So I hope that answers your question.
Just to add on to that, what happens to the individual members? So pertaining to my internet connection, now that's what I'm referring to. So not pertaining to virtual chambers. What happens to my internet connection or anyone else's internet connection for that matter?
Your challenge as far as the internet is concerned will be the same challenge that you're going to have if you're appearing in court or during a consultation. And as little as MS Teams can fix your internet problems, as a service provider, your participation on a on a internet platform or any kind of a digital platform and that, for example, is typically and you're giving me ideas, you would have seen I've got a soft spot for social responsibility. And we've been approached by some corporates, and that's a nice thing to talk about, is looking at extending Wi-Fi and internet opportunities for the babies, for the junior colleagues.
Thank you.
Hope that answers it.
Yeah, indeed.
I see
now,
some
that's
questions.
question. And if you mind, I'm going to now move to the questions in the chat, right?
Oh.
There's a question from NLHA Consulting. The question, I'm going to read it out verbatim. How many advocates are currently signed up for virtual chambers? And also more specifically, how many advocates from the Western Cape?
Okay, so let me just explain this as far as members signing up is concerned. Bisor said that he had finalized and gone live on Amazon for 3 years before it started gaining traction. And as you know, advocates, we move in packs, and that was part of the brief to the developers. Advocates move in packs. It's like the Masai Mara. They sit and wait. And they sit and wait to see who goes first, and if somebody goes first. And they talk about it. And at the moment, the numbers are minimal. But if you look at the Virtual Chambers LinkedIn platform and the Facebook and the Instagram, you will see the interest, especially, and I knew that out of the Western Cape, and on my personal LinkedIn profile, the guys in the Western Cape are also sitting on the rocks and checking this out. So yeah, give them time. Give them time. There's no rush. There's no rush.
Thank you. I hope that answers the question. There's a question from Quentin. I'm going to read it out verbatim again. Do you record virtual meetings and or consultations, and how do you deal with them to meet PAJA, POPI, and EU and UK CDPR stimulations?
Yes. So, Quentin, to answer your question, we don't host consultations or meetings on the Virtual Chambers platform when it involves clients. And no, we don't do recordings on the platform. So our conference facilities, if there is a recording, of course, if somebody books any of the conference rooms or they request, you can also request your own common room, then that is the booking, and the recording, of course, must be managed on that basis. But the day-to-day activities on the platform is not recorded.
Thank you. I deem that indeed answered Quentin's question. There's a question from Albert. Again, I'm going to read it verbatim. I'm an attorney. How do I get involved with virtual chambers? Question 1. Question 2. What would you ideally want from me?
All right, Albert. At this stage, it's an advocates chambers only for LPC compliant advocates that work on a referral practice. I have had, and we on our social media platform have had inquiries, and it's on the table, but it's at the bottom of the pile at the moment. So what makes this interesting? We've also had some reach out from speech and language pathology in the UK. They are also single, remote practitioners, unless they are in a practice of 3 or 4. And this platform So it's written, and it's the groundwork has been done. So it shouldn't be difficult to twig it. For example, for our colleagues in Australia and London, and then there's also been inquiries from Kenya. I know that we've got present in today's webinar colleagues from Kuala Lumpur, and I saw Zimbabwe, and each country has their own compliance requirements and their own compliance legislation. So the platform itself, from a technological point of view, is in place, and for the attorneys or other professions, one should, in the development phase, be able to adapt it to, especially single practitioners who are attorneys. We've thought about the benefits of single practitioners, when it's one or two people in small firms. And a similar platform would certainly go a long way. So watch this space. Let's just get the prototype off the ground, and we'll come back to you. But keep a lookout on Virtual Chambers' LinkedIn page.
Thank you. Just to add on to that, Ronelle, I'm actually part of the New York Bar Association as well, and there's quite a few members that are online as well.
Oh,
so
wow.
I wish you the best of success. There's a question from Quentin. I guess Quentin is going to be joining you very soon. I'm going to read it out verbatim. Is Virtual Chambers a responsible party, in brackets Poppy, and who is your information officer in terms of Poppy, Redwood, Baja?
Our Poppy compliance documentation is on the home page, Quentin, and you'll find all your answers in the positive right there. So it's on the home page, and I'm the information officer, as I am the responsible person. But it's all there. You can just click on the Poppy tab on the home page, and all the registration documents will pop down.
Thank you. There's a question from Advocate Ford. Would attorneys be comfortable to brief counsel who operate from virtual chambers?
Is that question posed at me? It's a resounding yes if you ask me. I have had the I'm humbled.
Just hold on, I don't know who that is.
Thank you.
Please continue.
I've had the benefit to work with fantastic attorneys over the years. I still work with them. In fact, they've now probably realized with the increased productivity, now that I'm talking a little bit more nonsense in the corridors. So from my point of view, my personal research prior to leaving Groenkloof Chambers, I spoke to my attorneys. My relationship comes with them over years, and we agreed that in the past, let's go 2 or 3 years back, maybe 4 years back, it was an absolute no-no. The concern was that if you don't belong to a bar, you're a renegade. The LPC when it arrived on the scene, and different views on its role and its purpose. I was happy to see in my research for this webinar that there's collaboration between the bars and the LPC, some of the bars and the LPC. That's brilliant. So I think 3 or 4 years ago, maybe less, big no-no. Now, in this evolving landscape, I think it's dual, and I think the attorneys have grown with us in this time. One of my attorneys before the lockdown would not entertain a virtual consultation at all, and he's come around too, occasionally, purely for that human contact element that you spoke about earlier. Of course, we have physical consultations, but even the more conservative colleagues have come around, and our attorneys, and it's a growing process. I mean, it's 18 months only since the hard lockdown. So there's a lot of growing that needs to be done.
Thank you, Council. There's a question from Likau. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Likau, you will forgive me if I'm not. I'm going to read it verbatim. Afternoon, Council. How will this virtual chambers assist us as baby juniors, and how do we join? Now, I think, Council, you have addressed us in terms of how it will assist in terms of baby juniors. Mm-hmm. So how do we? So I'm going to move to the second question of Likau. Yeah. How do we join?
Okay, so that's very easy. It couldn't be easier. www.virtualchambers.co.za. And you'll find everything there from start to finish, and to join.
Thank you, Council. I know I'm going over. Can I just restrict it to the last two questions, if it's fine?
Yes.
Thank you. There's a question from Pascal, and I think Pascal hit the question on. So good luck with this. Mm-hmm. Have you considered any incentives to get advocates to join, and how much is the membership fees?
So the incentives to join, we, as I mentioned earlier, the one incentive that we're launching now is to allow free access to our 0 to 1 year juniors from passing the bar exam and becoming a full-fledged advocate. So the baby juniors, the idea is to get a year for free. We've reached out to some of the younger colleagues to participate, and it assists us, because to gain traction, we need to see what happens with the feet on the platform and how Virtual Chambers develops its own character. Each Chambers has their own character. And each of them have nicknames, so we'll see where that goes. You'll see on the website itself, it'll give you all the details of sign-up and the costing, the terms and conditions, all the compliance issues. So everything's there on the website. The membership fee is 3,500 Rand a month. And we'll adapt that, of course, as we see things develop over time.
Thank you. The final question is from Ronelle. I'm going to read it verbatim. Would you be able to give us a demonstration of how this virtual chambers work? It is great to hear you talk about it, but it would perhaps be easier to see what you would be paying for if you can show us the platform.
Okay, so to answer your question, Ronelle, and it's all there. If you go to the website, www.virtualchambers.co.za, go to the website.
Sorry, Council, I'm just going to interrupt you for the ease. Just give me 1 second, and this would make things a bit easier for us. Okay, you may continue.
Okay.
You see my screen?
Ahmed, would you allow me to share? And I'll tell you why, because I've got access to the members area.
Perfect.
I can go in into the members area if you allow me to share. Thank you. Okay, Ronelle, I'll make it quick. Just take a quick look here. Can you see my screen, Ronelle?
We can.
Okay. So this is the home page, right? It gives you the benefits on the home page, upcoming lectures. You get your industry news from the LPC updated daily. There's some general news. This is all on the home page. Okay. And at the bottom, it's actually quite important. Nobody ever looks at that. But look at our story. There's the privacy, cookie, terms and condition, PAPIA, the contact us, and the role each of the founding members play. Then our members section, you can see either seniority, 0 to 5 juniors, or alphabetically. I hope my dear colleague Rob Foden forgives me, but I'm going to use him as an example. If you click on Rob, you get all his bios, the areas that he practices in, and his geographic location. And if you click on his name, your email, well, that's open now on my other screen, you go straight to his email. Those are our members. Then your court links, and which division are you practicing from, Ronelle?
In Johannesburg.
Okay, now look at this, okay? So here are the court links. So if you go to Gauteng division, these are automatically updated as they get posted by the people in Joburg and Pretoria. It gets updated daily. And for example, if you go to the Constitutional Court, there you can see what's happening. It's updated, and this gets updated daily. So the court links is actually quite a nice one. Then the skills vault, there you can see all the skills, and you would, for example, click on, let's just say, I know Rob does, let's see. If you click on medical negligence, you can get anybody of the members there. And if you click on Rob, it takes you straight to his connection details. Okay, then if you go to why join, and this is where I wanted to go, Ronelle, it gives you much of what I've shared with you today. There you get the what you get, what you pay, what you need, how to become a member step by step. I mean, it couldn't possibly be any. And it takes you through the whole registration. Okay? So you'll find that there. And then if you scroll down, you'll get a lot more detail on the 2-minute. And you can see it's a 2-minute 45 video, which will give you a lot better idea of how the platform works and what the benefits are. Okay. And then the members area, my pride and joy. Our pride and joy, sorry. In the members area, there's your dashboard. There's the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court of Appeal action. So the moment that any one of those two courts start, and especially I think if you're sort of waiting to be led into court, or the little ones that are waiting for the phone to ring, I mean, you can learn so much right here and you just click on any one of the two courts that are in sitting, and you can see what's happening there. So there's a notice board if there are changes coming through. That's the dashboard. Lectures and training speaks for itself. Okay, here are the common rooms. Okay, so if I joined a common room, Renee, can I ask you to join the gavel? Renee is on the platform, and while she signs in to the gavel, I don't know if Rob is on the webinar. Rob, if you could join the gavel as well. And what you will see, and I'm going to move on so long, but what you will see is that if you click, I'm going to click now. I'm going to look for Renee there. Just say open, launch meeting, and oh, it's on the screen. And join with video. And we've used Zoom purely because, okay, there's a lot of research that went into that. And there's Renee. Thank you, Renee. I just want to exit full screen. And immediately, I just want. Oh, my video is being used. Sorry, my video is being used for the MS Teams meeting, but that's as instant as it is to go into the common rooms. And if I can just go back to virtual chambers, you'll see the Bongi. Okay, there's Bongi. And if you go back to virtual chambers' website, can you still see the website? Ronelle?
Yes, I can see it. It's awesome.
Okay, so there you can see who's in the gavel. And you can decide if you want to go in there or rather meet somebody else in the pub. That's like a Friday afternoon wind down. But it's instant, and that's what took so long with Zoom, is to establish this integration.
So that is basically for the members to just collaborate. It's not really for meetings with clients, but mainly for meetings between the different members to say hello.
Okay. Look at the bottom there, request a room.
Okay.
So what you do is you request a room, and in the back end, we create a room for you, we lock the room, and it's your room. So you can consult and you can request a room. So it's not just the conference rooms if we have lectures or issues to discuss or any further developments. You know, of course, there's going to be a lot of that. But there's also the common rooms, which you see here, and you can request a room. Okay, so, and then there's knock knock. I think service providers, we've just put quick links into any of these. For example, the PC hardware guy. But if you click on, for example, SAF Air, whoop, you straight there. And that's just to make life easier. There are other guys, Capital, if you want to organize big boardroom conference facilities, excuse me, and not be an avatar. So that's there. And then when we spoke about knock knock, excuse me, new knock knock. So you enter a title, my first liquidation inquiry. Where are you, Bongi? Okay. Agree. Sorry. And then enter introduction, first meeting of creditors, and you say, dear colleagues, I came unstuck today, and then blah, 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 blah. and send invitation, and there it says send all, or you can select particular colleagues to assist you. So in this case, I'm going to send it to Rob because I've got his number, and you send it, and then all the members, Knock Knock successfully created, and they tell you by who, what it is, and you can view the answers and you can follow that Knock Knock down the corridor. And on my side, if I go to my inbox and I press send and receive, sit tight, it's downloading. There's quite a bit happening here at the moment. Then the members, all of the members get an email from Virtual Chambers to say you've received a Knock Knock from one of your colleagues. And then you can reply to that Knock Knock on the platform and by email. You just click join the conversation and you're part of that conversation that's going on. So that's Knock Knock. Great. We started a typist pool. We know that a lot of typists have also become the victims of this past 18 months. And we've reached out to a few of them. Some of them have reached out to us. And we welcome them because it creates a landing for them, an opportunity for them to try and pick up the pieces. So we create a typist pool, and any of the members can establish their own relationship with any one of these ladies. You phone them or you email them, and there's a typist at the tip of your fingers. And it's also a bit of a social responsibility thing because it doesn't cost them anything to be up there. We need to be happy with the experience and see that the rates are reasonable and put them up there and see if we can sort them out. So, yeah, that's most of it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much, Ronelle.
Thank you. Before I end, tell me, Ronelle, I saw on one of your pages you had the capital, inter alia, the capital, and SAP and stuff.
Yeah.
Being part of or being a member rather of Virtual Chambers, do you get any discounts in that regard?
It's funny you should mention that. So, look, we are. That's in R&D, and it's very hot on the table. That much I can tell you. So it's in R&D, and we've got some interesting opportunities there. But it's definitely in R&D.
Good. I'm sold.
Thank you.
Council, I have regrettably closed the question and answer session due to time restrictions. What remains is, on behalf of the South African Bar Association, we sincerely thank you for your inspiring address and obviously for your time. Appreciation to Advocate Patel and all those that have participated virtually and shall be watching the session at their leisure. These sessions are recorded, and the recordings can be found upon the South African Bar Association website, that being www.rsabar.net. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.